Dungeon Keeper. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer, which includes Peter Molyneux. Before we read the words, guys, I must issue a small health and safety announcement that the following video contains graphics that some viewers may find disturbing. They are from 1997 and are from DOS. Raid dungeons, earn sweet loot and save the day. That's what adventurers do, and it's your job to stop them. Become a ruthless dungeon keeper and defend your precious subterranean fortress from do-gooders at all costs. This is your dungeon, and the only one who gets to raid it is you. Yes guys, it's another retro review, and this time we're looking back at Dungeon Keeper, probably one of the best games ever made. It was absolutely fantastic when this came out, totally groundbreaking. This was truly a groundbreaking game. There have been many imitations of this. None of them have captured the essence of what made the original Dungeon Keeper so good. Even Dungeon Keeper 2 that came out a couple of years later just lacked everything that Dungeon Keeper 1 was. There hasn't been a game like it, and there probably never will be again, which is a big bad shame, because I would love to see this game get some love and be remastered as it is in the early stages, but maybe add a bit more multiplayer into it. Well, add multiplayer, because it doesn't actually have multiplayer. Can you believe that we're actually going to make a Dungeon Keeper 3, but Bullfrog, who created this game, decided to cancel it to pursue other better things. And you know what they were, guys? Harry fucking Potter on the PlayStation 2. See guys, I can't fucking stand Harry Potter, the little fucking wand shagger. I mean, he has stopped Dungeon Keeper 3. He alone stopped Dungeon Keeper 3. If Harry Potter, so why was I doing this? There's so many other retro games I could have done. Why am I doing retro games, a few of you might ask? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because there's nothing else out there. There's nothing else going on. The gaming industry is just kind of doing nothing at the minute. But don't worry, later this month we have got Outlast 2 coming. We've also got Dawn of War 3 coming. I'll be doing all them, all the big games. But at the minute we're doing a few retros because some of you might not have played them, and hey, you don't want to miss these. Now, before I go any further with this as well, you can get this on GOG, but you can also get this on Origin Access. Remember that I reviewed a few days ago. You get it free with Origin Access, and you get Dungeon Keeper 2, but I wouldn't bother with Dungeon Keeper 2, it's a bit shit. Now, the graphics on this are enough to make you want to vomit. It's just awful. It looks freaking hideous. I think it's running in 800 by 600 on the PC, and it's vile. And I know there's a few years will say, hey look, I can't play a game that's as vile looking as this, and that's absolutely fine, you fucking sad bastards. Graphics don't make a game, and this game has a fantastic gameplay. So what do? Well, you start off with a dungeon heart. It's the heart of your dungeon, and I think you get 3 imps. The whole of your heart is surrounded by soil. You're underground. It's just soil, but there are gold seams. There's gold in the mere hills, guys. And you've got to find the gold. Well, you can see where the gold is on the map. If you go to the big map, you can see the different colour tiles are the gold. And you've got to get to that gold. So you dig a tunnel straight to the gold and start mining it. But you've got to build a room to put the gold in, so you build a gold room. To build a gold room, you have to tunnel out an area that you can use to put a room in. Your little imps will dig it out when you just mark the squares you want taken out. They'll then lay a nice carpet for you, a nice tiled floor, and you can then just drop the room icons on there that you want. Now, the bigger the rooms, the better, because they become more attractive to monsters and stuff. The bank, your gold room, needs to be pretty big anyway, because you're going to be digging a shit ton of gold out of the rocks. Gold is required to train your monsters and to pay your monsters. They get paid at the end of every day. The day lasts a long time. I think it's a day or a week. You can see that by pressing another icon, but I don't want to go into all the icons. The UI is brilliant in this game. It's absolutely fine, works perfectly, and that's one of the things I didn't like about Dungeon Keeper 2. The UI was bloody awful. Peter, what the were you doing with Dungeon Keeper 2, man? Peter Molyneux, that is, guys. Peter Molyneux, you know, the guy is a bit of a... the curiosity, what the was that all about, eh? Building that big cube, and you could... If you don't know what I'm on about, Google Curiosity. That he made this game, and it was like chipping away a multiplayer game. There was 3 million people playing it, and whoever chipped away the last section of this giant cube got a life-changing prize. Yeah, this guy from Edinburgh was the last guy that did it, and his life-changing prize was f*** all. Anyway, enough of Peter. He made some good games, Peter. Anyway, you build your gold room, and that's where your imps will start carrying your gold to. You also build a lair, and a lair is where your monsters live, but you haven't got any monsters, so how do you get a monster? Well, there's always a portal right next to where you start. So you dig a tunnel to the portal, claim the portal, monsters will then start coming through the portal and living in your dungeon. They'll want a lair where they put their bed, they'll need food to eat, so you make this little chicken farm, and the little baby chicks that come out the eggs, and then your monsters come in and rip the fucking heads off. Perfect. And then you build a training room, and the training room, you just drop your monsters in the training room. You can pick them up with your hand. You control the hand that you can see on the screen. You pick your monsters up, throw them in the training room, and they'll just sit there and start training. It'll cost you money, so you have to dig out more gold. You also build a library, and that'll attract warlocks, and warlocks will come in and they'll start reading books on spell casting, and they'll give you new spells to cast. They'll research. It's like researching, but you also need to train them up because they're pretty handy with fireballs. You build another room which it's like a manufacturing room where trolls will come in and they'll build traps. Now the traps are great. You get all kinds of traps in this game. And what you do with the traps is you put them in your corridors or behind doors, and then when enemy monsters are invading your dungeon, which I'll come to later, they get stuck behind a door. They're trying to batter the door down, but there's a trap there. It might be poisonous gas, it might be lightning, and so the traps are essential to defend your dungeon in the later levels. They're not really essential early on, but later on they are absolutely essential. You also can build a prison. Now when you build a prison, you can then press a button which tells all your monsters to not kill the enemy, just to stun them and knock them out. And then when an enemy's monster is knocked out, your imps will go and grab them off the floor, carry them and throw them in your jail. You don't feed them in jail, you let them die. And once they've died, they come back as a skeleton for you. So it's a nice little way of earning extra troops as you go along. There's also a barracks that you can get later on where you can set units into groups, which is very, very handy. There's also bridges. There's little command posts that you can build and put men on them. There's all sorts of rooms that you can actually build in this. But the object of the game is to defeat your opponent's, it's a single player game, your opponent's dungeon. And you'll do that by simply making yours impenetrable as much as you can, put traps everywhere, earn as much gold as you can, recruit as many monsters as you can, train your monsters up, they level up, get them really high level. You can only get them to level 4, I think, by training in your own little dojo thing. It's like a training room you build. Once they've got to level 4, they'll only level up in combat after that. So you level them up as much as you can, then you go and attack the enemy dungeon. You do that by placing this attack banner down. It rallies all your troops to that banner, then you send them into the enemy dungeon, who will also have a shit ton of units. You'll have all the rooms you've got, and you'll have traps as well, so you have to be careful in there. But where the fun is of this game is just building the whole dungeon. It is so much fun getting the gold, building the dungeon, building defences, holding off the enemy till you've got a powerful enough army, and then off you go. There's a lot of games that do this in a similar way, but none of them do it with the grace of Dungeon Keeper. The voiceover is just so good. You wouldn't even be allowed to have some of the things, and there's these bitches that you get that are like all in leather with whips, and they like being slapped, so you slap them. They would never condone slapping women now, but it's so funny. It's just so funny doing it in this game. It is a bit sluggish. You'll probably see that in the graphics as it's running. It's certainly not running smooth at all, even on Windows 10, but it seems to run better on Windows 7. I'm running it on Windows 10, but I have played it on Windows 7, and it seems to run fine on Windows 7. I also had to alter one of the config files to switch the music off, which was so annoying. The music sliders just do not work, and I think it was because this game was out on CD and it had CD music at the time. So a quick search of the internet, I found a fix. I went into the config files in the DOS box because it runs through a DOS emulator, and I was able to just alter a little file, and it fixed it straight away. It's well worth playing. It's one of them games that's timeless. I've been playing this for about 13 hours. I only needed to do about 5 to get you this Worthabuy video. I just can't put it down, and I'm going to play it after I've done this. I would have streamed it, but it won't stream. It's too old. I can't get it to stream. But it is so much fun. I'm having a blast in it. it's definitely worth a buy. It's one of Peter Molyneux's finest hour. People can't stand the guy now, most people, but you know what? You kind of knock him. This guy was really big in the development of computer games back in the day. He was a proper star. He made some amazing games. He really did. Bullfrog were one of the top, if not the top, video game producer back in the 90s. Their fate was to sign up with Electronic Arts. Yeah, who did a Westwood with them. So much innovation fucked up by them. It's just, you know, Westwood Studios, Bullfrog. It's a travesty what happened. It's an absolute travesty what happened to the gaming industry back in the 90s. The talented people that we had making games back then, just their companies gobbled up by corporate fucking greed and then ripped apart for money. It's just sad, absolutely sad. But thankfully we've still got these games, and thanks to the likes of Origin, they still work on the PC and GOG, and you can get this, and it's well worth getting. You will enjoy it if you like this kind of strategy game. It's such a good laugh. It's £4, I think it is. £4. You play this, yeah, it looks like filth, but you play it and you just think, my goodness, this game is so much fun. Why aren't games today as much fun as this? Why aren't they as much fun as this? Why can't we make games today? What the fuck is wrong with the gaming industry? I mean, yes, it's got its faults. It's got its faults. The game has its faults. There's things wrong with the game that should have been fixed back then, but we're going back to, 1997. It's easy to say that now in 2017, but there's nothing game-breakingly wrong with it. And that's the thing, that's the good thing about it. And this was brought back in the day where you didn't have patches and all that shit, coming out like every other day. So it is a joy to play. It's well worth getting, guys. So there you go. Dungeon Keeper 1 from 1997 is still worth a buy.